Okay, it looks like we are live. Hello and welcome everyone. Happy Thursday. If you're in another part of the world and it's already Friday, happy Friday to you. For those of us that are here in the United States, specifically in the Northeast, I hope everybody was super safe after that snowstorm and I hope that everybody's able to keep themselves warm. If you don't know by now, my name is Will Zapata here with Apollo Energy, and this is our Beyond the Solar series where we not only just talk about renewable energy, how to make your home more efficient, but we also look into ways that we can be the best versions of ourselves. So for today, I wanted to kind of hop in really quickly just to let you know, super behind. I was on extra father duties today. Basically, it's one of those moments where my son is just turned one and he is super needy of his dad. So I had to give him more attention. So, but very happy to be able to hop on today. Super excited to talk about what are some myths that we tend to think about when it comes to solar that could possibly be keeping us broke, right? So I want to dive right into it. I want to make sure that I'm as clear and transparent as possible because at the end of the day, if you are thinking about going solar for your home, you want to make sure that you're arming yourself with the right tools so we can empower you to be the best version of yourself and obviously protect your family. So jumping right into it, what is one of the myths that I hear that keep people broke when it comes to solar is having the wrong expectations. Listen, I know how solar has been marketed, especially, in the last few years, and it's usually served as something that can help you save on your utility bill. And depending on where you live in the country, and for most cases, that might actually work, right? Where, let's say here, if you're in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, typically our electric rates have jumped up so high that a lot of families just see solar as the obvious transition to be able to have control over what they're paying for electricity and then obviously protect themselves when it comes to rate increase. Now, usually everybody's assuming that if I go solar and I was paying $100, that my bill either got to be dropped by 50% or in some crazy instances, zero. And I can't tell you how many times it has happened where people just have the wrong expectations about what solar should do for them. And then they end up either A, being disappointed or think that they got scammed. At the end of the day, especially now in 2026, solar is used as something that's going to help you protect against inflation. At the end of the day, what you're able to do is instead of having to pay that power to the utility company and have no control over your rates, is that solar gives you the opportunity to, in some cases, yeah, you can save money on your utility bill, but most importantly, you got to look at it as this is a long-term investment. The ROI may not happen, right away. If you're in a situation where you got solar and you saw instant savings, that's great. That's amazing. And that's what we want to happen 100% of the time. But what tends to happen is that sometimes the expectations is not explained correctly to the families. And then they're basically set up to fail because what they were told is not, it's not happening. Right now, we're in the Northeast where we're getting a ton of snow, right? Right now, your panels are not going to be producing as much. And if you have under a year with solar, you might actually find that you have a utility bill and along with your solar bill, which is totally fine and it's okay as long as that is being properly explained to you. So whenever I tell families if they're looking into solar, I always like to ask, what are your expectations? What have you heard, right? Things if you're hearing like, oh, I'm never going to have a utility bill or somebody told me that it was completely free, you want to just be, very careful to make sure that that is being properly explained. For you to say you're never going to have a utility bill, that's very hard for anybody to guarantee, right? The utility companies are changing the way that they do their rates. They're changing also what policies they have. And really, it would be disingenuous to explain to families like, hey, you're never going to have a utility bill. Do we want that to happen? Of course, that would be the best case scenario. But sometimes we get situations where the weather is what it is. It's snowing heavy. Your panels are not going to produce a lot. I would definitely encourage families that if you are able to see some savings from solar and the utility bill, I would always treat it, take the difference and put it away for a snowy day, right? There's a rainy day fund. Well, in solar, there's a snowy day fund. And you want to make sure that you're able to put some money away. So that way, if it does happen where maybe you do have to pay a little bit more on your utility bill, maybe your solar hasn't matured to the point where you're able to, have years in your investment where you can see some huge savings. It's always good to be able to have some backup, and that way you're not caught by surprise, right? The hardest thing and why a lot of people may feel disappointed if they go solar is because the expectations were not set up correctly from the beginning. So definitely first myth is that keep you broke, is basically not having the right expectations when it comes to solar. The second thing is not understanding whether solar will work for you, right? What I mean by this is that we tend to think that we have this idea of like, well, if let's say I am in an area where I need to get a lot of sun, that is the only way that solar works. Because if I'm in an area like I live now in the Northeast, there's no way that solar could work. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen families really get bitten because of this. I tell families all the time that I speak with. I was talking to a family not too long ago, and they need a massive system. And I tell them, I wish you had gone solar sooner because anytime that you give any of your investments time to mature, they're going to benefit you the most. And even if you live in an area where it's colder, where it's snow, countries in Europe like Germany that tend to be much more north than we are, they still are able to see huge amount of benefits from solar. So, you could be actually losing out on money by not going solar, thinking that it just won't work for you, or thinking that solar only works if I got to be saving money. And what solar does truly is it protects you. It protects your family against the cost of electricity constantly rising, right? It gives you, whether it's a fixed rate, whether it's a variable rate, depending on what you qualify for. But solar basically allows you to protect yourself from, having an absorbent amount of increases when it comes to your electricity. It gives you the opportunity, just like if you were to own a home or own a car, maybe you started off making payments, maybe you started off having to do installments or having a mortgage or whatever the case might be. Solar is the same thing, right? Solar gives us an opportunity where you're always making payments to your utility company with no end in sight. And the whole idea that solar can provide you is an opportunity to basically have an end date when you have to write the last bill to the utility company, right? Again, set the right expectations. It doesn't mean that you may never have a bill, but if you can take your cost of electricity from $100, which in today's day and age would be amazing, but maybe you can get that down to $20, $30 after you've paid off your system, or maybe you paid off your system up front, or maybe you're in a situation where you're like, I went solar, and again, depending how you do it, that ROI can be much bigger in your case, or it can come back sooner than what you anticipated. But the best way to have the right expectations, or the best way to see the best results from solar, is basically being able to set the right expectations, making sure that you're getting the information specifically to you. Don't think that just because you're in an area that gets lots of snow, maybe you're in the Northeast, that solar will not work for you. That is not true. Solar will absolutely work for you, especially if you're able to look at what incentives are available in your area. And then finally, the last myth that keeps people broke when it comes to solar is them not making the move fast enough, right? At the end of the day, no one's here to rush you. I want everybody to take their time. I want you to be able to do your due diligence. I want you to be able to find somebody that you can trust, that is reputable, that you can work with. But just like any other investment, the more time you have with it, the better it's going to pay off. I'm speaking with families, that I helped go solar 5, 6 years ago, and they're absolutely loving it. Some of them have already paid off their system entirely. So whatever small amount of utility bill they have, they understand like, hey, maybe I'm using a little bit more power, or I understand that I didn't get 100% offset from the beginning, but I can't tell you enough that the longer that you wait, the harder it is going to be for you to see that ROI when it comes to solar. We're very quick to want to be able to get a mortgage for 30 years, right? And we understand that, like, okay, the whole payoff is that if I can pay this off, or when I'm done paying this, I'll be able to either A, not have a mortgage, or, it would appreciate it in value. Solar allows you to do the same thing. It's a great appreciation on your home. You're able to control what you pay for electricity. And then obviously you can say, hey, I have an end date as to when I have to send the utility company another one of my hard earned paychecks, right? I would love to hear what are some of the things that maybe are keeping y'all from going solar, or maybe looking into it. Please feel free to go ahead and send us a message, send us a DM. We'd love to be able to explain to you how solar can work for you. Basically letting you know this is what it is. Sometimes you just need somebody to be able to lay the information, as clearly, as simple for you, and then with no pressure. At the end of the day, it is your home, it is your family. You can decide what's best. We just want to make sure that we can provide you with the most up to date and current information when it comes to renewable energy. I hope that everybody found this helpful. If you did, please make sure to share this, follow us, and send us messages. And I hope that everybody has a great rest of your day. Stay warm.